Okay, welcome to the programming part of arrays, particularly single dimensional arrays. First, we will discuss single dimensional arrays only. So, I have opened this IDE. Let's create a new file. Okay, new file is created, and then let's start programming. We will start with simple programs, and we'll try to improve. We'll try to improve. So hash include stdio.h main, and then within this one you have declarative statements and executable statements. This return 0, so this is mandatory. So let us first check the skeleton. So let us try to save it. File, save. Let me call it as ex3.c, which is saved in downloads. ex4.c, I think ex3 is already available. ex4.c. Okay, now build it. For the Reddy products, no compilation finished successfully, and then execute. So because there are no statements, executable statements, there is nothing in it, so nothing is printed. Now what you are going to do is, let us try to read elements into the array and print it. So for that we have to first declare the array. Say integer a, say some 20. So here a is the name of the array and integer is the data type of the elements in the array, and 20 is the maximum size. That means we can store 20 elements in the array starting from a of 0 to a of 19, a of 0 to a of 19. So we can store the elements of the array. Here we are not considering the storage class because the format is storage class, data type, array name, within the square brackets, maximum size. Here we are not considering the storage class. We are assuming default storage class. We need not explicitly specify the default storage class. So we have declared an array. So let us try to read the elements in the array and write the elements in the array. So 20 is the maximum size. We can read 20 elements we want. But usually what we do is we'll assume n as the number of elements that are stored in the array. So n is the number of elements, and those elements are stored in array A. Let us first try to read the value of n. So enter the value of n. We are trying to read the value of n. So scanf %d and of n. Okay, let us build it. And then execute it. Enter the value of n, say some 10. Okay, it is reading something. We hope that the n value is 10 actually after reading. So n is the number of elements that are actually stored, where 20 is the maximum size. So let us try to read the elements into the array for I equal to. So we can go from 1 or we can go from 0. First we'll start from 0. I less than or equal to n, or I less than n actually, because array indexing starts at 0. So I equal to 0 up to I less than n, that is I less than or equal to n minus 1. So what we are going to do, we are going to read it using scanf. So element by element. What is the format? What is the format? Format is and of the name of the array with index. So what we are doing here, we are reading the elements of the array. We are reading the elements of the array one by one. First I will be 0, so we will read a of 0. Next I will be 1, we will read a of 1. Like that we are going to read up to n elements, that is from a of 0 to a of n minus 1 actually. Okay, after reading what we are going to do, this is the only statement in the for loop scanf. Now we are going to print it. Let us try to print it. For I equal to 0, I less than n plus of I plus of I. So what we are going to do, we are going to printf. We are going to print the elements of the array. Print the elements of the array. A of I, A of I, A of I. Maybe for convenience we can add one printf statement, because we have read it, we are printing it, we will generate some message. So the elements of the array are, the elements of the array are. So like this. Now what is the problem with this one? Suppose if I run this one, what is the problem? What is the problem? So one obvious problem which you can observe is we have declared n, we have declared array A, but we have not declared I. So I has to be declared. Let us check what is the error message that is generated. Compilation failed. Compilation failed. Here you can see I undeclared. I undeclared. First use. I undeclared. First use in this function for I equal to 0. Here we are using it. But before that we have not declared. So we have to declare I. Let us check again. Build. No problem. Let us execute it. Say 10 is the elements in the array. Let us actually read the elements. Better if you add one printf statement. We have not added one printf statement indicating that enter the values of n. So we have not added it. That's why it is not generating any message asking us to give the input, but still it is waiting for giving the input. So number of elements is 10, so we have to read ten elements. You can give any elements. So the elements of the array are, you can see 11, 22, like that. The elements are printed. It is better we modify it, and let us just give space here, so that after printing one element, a space is also printed. And also let us add one printf statement here, asking the user to enter the elements of the array. So build, execute. So 5 elements, some random elements, 3.4. Here you can see enter the elements of the array. That means it is asking us to enter the elements. You can see it 344, 67, 3, 894, 4. The elements are printed correctly. So in this program, what we have done? We have declared the array. We have declared the array. We have read the elements into the array. We have read the elements into the array. We are printing the read elements. So whatever we have read, we are printing those elements. So that is the first simple program on arrays. First simple program on arrays. Okay. Now what we can do? Now what we can do? We can change the program. We can change the program, or we can write another program. We can write another program. So maybe for convenience, I will write another program. So that you get a clarity. So that you get a clarity, I will write another program. Now after reading, we try to sum the elements of that array and then print the sum of the elements. Let us try to do it. New. Okay. Hash include stdio.h. So main return 0 should be there, and then this is the skeleton. Okay. Let me save it. Say some ex5 ex5.c, indicating that it is a C type of file. Now what we do? Again we have to declare the array. Say again a of 20, say. Or not experiment, we keep it 10. So I also will declare, and n also will declare. So what we are going to do? We are going to first read the value of n. Enter the value of n. Okay. Scanf. %d and of n. Okay, we have read the value of n. Now read the elements into the array. Printf, enter the elements of the array. So /n will start the for loop for I equal to 0, I less than n plus of I should be parenthesis. Scanf %d ampersand of n. Sorry, not ampersand of n. We have already read the value of n. Ampersand of a of I. Okay. Now what we are going to do? We want to add these elements. Let us assume that some of the elements is represented as sum. Let us call it as sum. So sum, and let us initialize sum to 0. Sum equal to 0. So after initializing, then we are going to add the elements. So how we are going to do? For I equal to 0, I less than n plus of I sum equal to sum plus a of I. Sum equal to sum plus a of I. So we are adding the elements of the array. We are adding the elements of the array one by one to sum. Initially sum is 0. Initially sum is 0. So a of I, initially I is 0. I is 0. We are going to add the elements. A of 0 is added. Next I is incremented. So a of 1 is added, like that. So after adding, what we are going to do? We are going to print the sum of the elements. Sum of the elements. Sum of the elements is, say, percentage D. Percentage D, we want to print it. So sum. Okay. Let us check. Is there any syntax error? Is there any syntax error? Check it. Any syntax error? Let us run it. Let us build it first. Compilation finished successfully. So execute. Say some 6 elements. Let us say the elements are 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So sum is 21. Is it correct? 6 plus 5, 11, 11 plus 4, 15, 15 plus 3, 18, 18 plus 2, 20, 20 plus 1, 21. The sum of the elements is 21. So that's how you are going to write the program to read the elements of the array and then sum the elements and then sum the elements and then sum the elements. So let us experiment with this one. So actually we are storing the 10 elements. Let us now run it and let me even in that case, what experiment we can do here? The simple experiment we are going to do is, so the maximum number of elements is 10. So that means a of 0 to a of 9. Let us try to put one element into a of 12. Actually, the array size is only 10, so you have to store only from a of 0 to a of 9. Let us check whether compiler generates error message or not. So actually, it should generate error message, but will it do it? Will it do it? No, it is not generating any error message. So that is what is meaning of C doesn't have this range checking facility. Range checking facility. The elements are to be stored from a of 0 to a of 9 in this case, but we are storing an element in a of 12, but still the compiler is not generating any error message. That's the problem. Okay, C doesn't support any range checking. And this a of 10 should be constant. You cannot have it as some max size or n. You cannot write it. Let us check. Build. Compilation failed. Why? Compilation failed. What is the error message actually? Error is max size undeclared. So you cannot use variables here. The solution for it is has defined max size, say some 20 or 10. So we can do like this. Let us check. No issues. So you cannot use just the variable. You cannot use the variable, but you can declare a symbolic constant and then use that symbolic constant. and then use that symbolic constant. That we can do. That we can do. Okay. The next one, suppose you want to store the elements from A of 1, A of 1. Okay. A of 1. So A of 1, that we can do actually. No issues. What we have to do is, I will make these loops go from 1 less than or equal to n. Okay. And this also 1 less than or equal to n. Let us check. So 5 elements, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, no issues. It is working correctly. No issues, it is working correctly. Okay, no issues, it is working correctly. Maybe it is going to the end. It is better we keep the screen like this only. So what we have done? We have stored the elements from 1 to n, A of 1 to A of n, A of 1 to A of n. So like this you can do. Like this you can do. So this is summing the elements of the array. Summing the elements of the array. Okay. So what else? We can do large number of programs. Let me just break. Let me just take a break, because we can go on discussing these programs for hours together. But let us break, and then again let us do it. I'll stop here.